Chiefs Kingdom. I'm not even going to pretend this isn't a turning point for this offense, because right now, everything we're hearing points to one thing: the backfield is about to change in a big way. I'm Victor, and if you've been watching this team every week like I have, you know the run game just wasn't good enough last season. Now we've got serious talk about moving on and possibly drafting a running back early, while at the same time the Chiefs are being labeled favorites to land a proven explosive free agent who could immediately transform this offense. That's not small news. That's direction. That's strategy. Are we rebuilding the ground game through the draft? Are we going all in on a veteran playmaker, or are we about to do both? This offseason feels decisive, especially with the quarterback situation and the need to take pressure off early in the year. And before we break it all down, if you're rocking with the channel and love this kind of breakdown, help us hit 1,600 subscribers. We're getting close, and your support really matters. All right? Let's talk about what this actually means for the Chiefs moving forward. So let's really break this down, because this isn't just draft talk. This is potentially the end of an era at running back in Kansas City. Isaiah Pacheco gave us energy. He ran angry. He embodied that underdog mentality. But 462 rushing yards, 3.9 per carry, and just 1 touchdown last season? That's not starting production. That's not what this offense needs right now. And when you combine that with the contract situation and the direction of the team, it feels pretty clear. We're likely moving on. And that opens the door to something big. Now the combine suddenly becomes extremely important for us. Because if the front office doesn't land one of the top free agents, there's a very real chance they go aggressive in the draft, maybe even within the first 2 days. Let's start with Jeremiah Love out of Notre Dame. This is the flashy option, the explosive one. 1,372 rushing yards, 18 touchdowns. Add receiving production on top of that. He's not just a runner, he's a weapon. And if he's somehow still on the board when Kansas City picks, it would be hard to justify passing on him. And here's why that matters. With the quarterback coming off a torn ACL, easing him back into action is going to be crucial. You don't want to throw him into a situation where he has to carry the offense from week 1. A guy like Love changes that equation immediately. He becomes the focal point early. He takes pressure off. He forces defenses to respect the run again. But we also have to be realistic. 8 teams pick before us. A player that complete doesn't just fall into your lap. That's where Jonah Coleman comes in. If the team signs a free agent but still wants depth, or if they decide to build a 2-headed backfield, Coleman makes a ton of sense. Over 1,000 scrimmage yards in each of his last 3 college seasons. 15 touchdowns last year, even behind a struggling offensive line. That tells you something about his vision and toughness. And we've seen this formula work across the league, pairing 2 complementary backs. A dynamic runner plus a versatile, reliable second option. That's balance. That's sustainability. That's how you keep your offense unpredictable. Then there's Nicholas Singleton out of Penn State. A bit of a buy low candidate after a slight statistical dip in 2025. But if you look at his previous 3 seasons, the production was there. Over 1,000 scrimmage yards multiple times. Talent doesn't disappear overnight. Sometimes context changes, scheme changes, supporting cast changes, and that's why he's intriguing. Because if the Chiefs believe the tools are still there, that's a day 2 swing that could pay off long term. What all of this tells me is simple. The organization knows the ground game has to improve. This isn't speculation anymore. This isn't fans overreacting. When draft projections and evaluations are centered around replacing your current starter, that's direction. And as a fan, I'm actually encouraged by that. Because complacency is dangerous. Pretending the run game was fine last year would have been delusional. The offense ranked near the bottom in rushing. That's not championship formula in today's NFL, especially when you're trying to protect a quarterback returning from injury. The big question now isn't whether we change the backfield. It's how aggressive we get. Do we draft the future and build it from the ground up? Do we draft and sign someone? Do we completely reset the room? And here's where it gets even more interesting. Because while we're talking about draft prospects and potential replacements, there's also growing momentum behind the idea that Kansas City could be favorites to land a proven, versatile veteran in free agency. And if that happens, this entire draft strategy conversation changes overnight. And this is where things get really interesting. Because while we're talking about draft prospects, the Chiefs are now being considered favorites to land a proven, versatile veteran in free agency, Travis Etienne. And I'm going to be honest with you, this feels different. According to ESPN's Matt Bowen, Etienne is the best fit for Kansas City once free agency opens. And when you actually look at the numbers and the context, it's not hype, It makes football sense. Last season, the Chiefs ranked 25th in rushing, 106.6 yards per game. That's not championship-level balance. That's not the kind of ground game that keeps defenses honest. And Etienne, he just put up 107 rushing yards, 7 rushing touchdowns, plus 36 catches for nearly 300 yards and 6 receiving touchdowns. That's production. That's versatility. That's a true dual-threat back. And here's what really stands out to me. 26 rushes of 10 or more yards last season. That means explosiveness. That means chunk plays. That means a back who doesn't just grind out 3 yards, he flips field position. In Andy Reid's offense, that matters. Screens, backfield releases, motion concepts, spacing. Etienne isn't just a runner, he's a matchup problem. You line him up in space against linebackers? That's trouble. You get him the ball on a well-designed screen? That's potentially a 20-yard play. Now think about the bigger picture. If the Chiefs sign Etienne, that immediately stabilizes the position. You're not drafting a rookie and asking him to carry the offense from day one. You're not hoping a day 2 pick develops quickly enough. You're bringing in someone who has already proven he can handle a full workload over 17 games. And with the quarterback coming off a torn ACL, that's critical. You need someone who can carry the ball 15 to 20 times if necessary. You need someone who can produce in the short passing game. You need someone who forces defenses to respect the run, so they can't just tee off. Now, is this risk-free? Of course not. Free agency costs money. You're investing cap space into one player, and you're betting that his production translates cleanly into this system. But I'll say this as a fan. If you're serious about rebalancing this offense, this is the type of move that signals urgency. Because here's what I see when I connect both stories. On one hand, the team is preparing for the possibility of drafting a replacement for Isaiah Pacheco. They're evaluating prospects. They're studying combine performances. They're clearly open to resetting the room. On the other hand, they're being linked heavily to a proven, explosive free agent who fits the scheme perfectly. That tells me something. That tells me the front office is not gambling on just one solution. They're exploring every path. Draft, free agency, depth, long-term answer, immediate impact. And that's what smart teams do. As a fan, this doesn't feel desperate. It feels intentional. It feels like they understand the ground game was a weakness. It feels like they're not going to waste a season hoping internal development magically fixes it. And it feels like they're determined to build an offense that doesn't put everything on the quarterback's shoulders, especially early in the season. So what does this moment represent? To me, it represents transition. It represents the potential end of one era at running back and the start of a completely new identity in the backfield, whether that identity is a dynamic rookie, a proven veteran like Etienne, or a combination of both. This offseason feels decisive. It feels like a pivot point, and if the right moves are made, this offense could look far more balanced and dangerous than it did a year ago. As a fan, I'm hopeful, but I'm also watching closely, because the direction we choose at running back is going to tell us exactly how serious this team is about getting back to the top of the AFC. So when you zoom out and look at everything together, the possibility of drafting a true difference maker early, and the growing belief that we could land a proven weapon in free agency, this tells you exactly where this franchise is mentally right now. This is not a team patching holes. This is a team recalibrating its identity. The run game wasn't good enough. The production wasn't there. And instead of pretending it'll magically improve, the Chiefs are clearly exploring every serious solution available. Draft capital, free agency, versatility, explosiveness, balance. And to me, that's encouraging, because if you want to protect your quarterback, especially one coming back from injury, you build a real ground threat. If you want to get back to championship form, you can't be one-dimensional. And if you want to stay ahead in the AFC, you don't sit still. This moment feels decisive. It feels like a fork in the road. Get this right, and the offense becomes balanced, explosive, and harder to defend than it's been in a while. Get it wrong, and we're right back having the same conversation next offseason. As a fan, I'm hopeful, but I also expect urgency. This window is too important to waste. Now I want to hear from you. Would you rather draft the future at running back, or go all in on a proven veteran and fix it immediately, or do you think the smart move is doing both? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Let's actually debate this like real Chiefs Kingdom. And if you've been enjoying the breakdowns and real talk on this channel, help us hit 1,600 subscribers. We're building something strong here, and every one of you makes a difference. Hit that like button, subscribe if you haven't yet, and let's keep growing this community the right way.